Alright guys, we're off to the races here in our semi-final matchup. On the left, it's Brandon Gibbs. We saw him earlier in the night playing Mono Blue Devotion, pretty stock list, but still very powerful interactions. His opponent, first time we've seen him tonight, but otherwise a stream regular. It's Alec Myers, and he's playing an interesting red-green Devotion deck. It's basically a mono-red Devotion deck, splashing green for Domri and Xenagos. So it's got Ash Zealots, Boros Reckoners, Fanatic of Mogus, and Stormbreath Dragons. So Alec just getting the work here, landing 2 early Ash Zealots and just pounding in here. He does have Nykthos, but needed that second Ash Zealot in order to profit mana off of it. So Brandon's tied 2 blue mana symbols away from activating his Thassa here. And there is a main deck domestication that's going to steal that Ash Zealot. That turns on Thassin. He's able to get in for 10 here. There's a Temple of Abandon. Alec going to shove a card to the bottom. Alec on the mull to 6 here, so struggling a little bit. Just passes back without a follow-up play, so facing down his own Ash Zealot, a couple flyers, and an active Thassa along with the Mutavault. Not looking good. So Gibbs serving in with the team, and an Ash Zealot picking off the Mutavault. Alec down to 1, he's going to draw his card and likely scoop it up and move to the next game here. Serve in for 2. Gibbs just going to take it, and Alec just posturing. So the mull killed him there, and didn't seem like he really drew any business. Very curious to know what was in Alec's hand at that point. Clearly. So Brandon on the mull to 6 as we start our game 2 here in our semi-final feature match. Alec Myers is down a game with his big red Devotion deck splashing green for a couple of Planeswalkers. He turned 2 Ash Zealot doing some work here. Alec again stuck on 2, well, I thought he was stuck on 2 mana, but he was not. He plays a Burning Tree Emissary, uses the mana to activate his Nykthos now for 4, and casts a Boros Reckoner. So well ahead here, and all Brandon can do is muster up a Nightveil Spectre, which will do a decent job of blocking one of the 2 power creatures, but Alec going to be able to get in for 5 here if he wants to. It has access to 8 mana with his Nykthos activation, so Alec doesn't have any shenanigans here, just serves in with the Boros Reckoner and then passes back. Looks like his hand is full of creatures. Domestication on the Boros Reckoner, the best answer to that that he has in his deck here. Not only does it keep Alec from and there's a Destructive Revelry, which would have answered the domestication exactly. Not only does domestication take the threat away from Alec, but it also denies him a little bit of mana here, though he probably doesn't need that extra mana. what could be in his hand other than what he currently has in play. But attacking with the Night Veil Spectre is going to allow Alec to get in for 4 here. And the race is truly on. Now, as I think, I don't think Alec has any direct damage in his deck. So we serve in for 5 here. There's a Forest. Revealed to the Night Veil Spectre. Alec drops down to 13. And there is a Master of Waves, which is going to be good for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tokens. So Alec basically dead on board here. He needs a Storm Breath. Does he have enough mana to cast and Monstrous? 4 mana, I'm assuming. 5, 6. Mizzium Mortars. So Mizzium Mortars is going to clear the board except for the Master of Waves, but 4 damage will get redirected to Alec because of the Boros Reckoner. So Alec down to 9, loses his team save for the Master itself. All the tokens die. But Alec still cannot attack into the Pro-Red Master here. So we have reset the game at 9 life apiece. Alec having survived 1 Master of Waves. Let's see how Brandon rebuilds his army here. Plays another land. I see a Frostburn Weird in his hand. Wow, getting very aggressive here against the Storm Breath deck. Taking Alec down to 7. Playing a Frostburn Weird. Playing a second Frostburn Weird? No, playing a Thassa, which is not active yet. So there is 4 mana for Fanatic of Malgus for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then plays another one off a Nykthos activation for 8. For the first one for 5, the second one for 6. And that's going to be good enough. So Alex steals one off the back of double Fanatic. So this is the decider, folks. Semifinals, Brandon on Mono Blue versus Alec on Red Green Devotion. Brandon starts off by attacking with 2 Mutavaults. He is on the mull to 5 on the play, though, so that's why his draw is super awkward. And then Alec shuts him down with a turn 2 Burning Tree Emissary, not chaining into anything, but a 2/2 good enough to keep Brandon from making any progress. But Alec stuck on 2 lands as well. And there we see a 3rd land, more importantly an island from Brandon, which lets him land a Thassa. So Alex shoves a card off of his Temple of Abandon and gets in with the Emissary, 18 apiece. So this is going to be a battle of what's on the top of each other's decks. Thassa is going to help Brandon pull ahead here, as that Scry ability is going to be pretty crucial. Domestication is going to steal that Burning Tree Emissary. So Alex struggling. Alex's deck is very strong, but I feel like all the games we've watched him have been, he's struggled mightily. I think these games are running slightly below expectation. And Alec chooses to burn his own Burning Tree Emissary just to do something, I think. Stuck on 3 lands still. And this despite scrying one off the Temple of Abandon as well. So Brandon sends a card to the bottom with Thassa. Just passes back with 4 mana up. That seems relatively peculiar. I guess sitting on counter magic. There's a Mist Cutter Hydra just for 2, but that's going to be difficult for Brandon to deal with. He can block with his Mutavault. He's going to have to Stone Rain himself. but it is pro blue. It could not be countered. So if Brandon was sitting back on counter magic, it was an excellent turn for Alec, as it effectively time walked Brandon. And all Brandon can muster is a Judge's Familiar. It's his second turn. He's passed back with 4 mana open. Choosing to just take 2 rather than to trade one of his lands. Alec going to shock himself. Or I guess maybe he's debating whether he wants to shock himself. So he does shock himself down to 16. Tries to play a Fanatic just for 1. Of course, Fanatic does have 4 power. It's often looked at as just a Grey Merchant, but it is a 4/2 creature as well. But it meets a Dissolve. Brandon leaves 1 on top. So we see why he was leaving mana open, sitting on that Dissolve. So activating a Mutavault, serving in for 3 here along with the Judge's Familiar. So Alec down to 13. Brandon sitting back on Dissolve mana again. Not sure if he has another copy of Dissolve. We're going to see a dragon here. Alec finds his 5th land. Another Mistcutter Hydra, this time for 4. This one cannot be blocked profitably by that Mutavault. So Brandon deciding if he wants to cash in 1 Mutavault to trade with the first Mistcutter Hydra. And he does, but he's going to take 4 from that newly cast one. And drops down to 10 here, slowly falling behind. Brandon looking for a Nightveil Spectre in order to turn on his Thassa. Oh, he's thinking about this scry here. The chat questioning why he didn't block with Mutavault earlier. Well, in the earlier turns, he was leaving up Counterspell Magic, and taking the 2 damage was a reasonable alternative than letting whatever potential threat he might cast resolve. But now facing down an unblockable, essentially, 4 power Pro Blue Hydra, getting the 2 power one off the board is much more lucrative. 3 mana 4. There is the Nightveil Spectre. That turns on Thassa. Serve in for 6. Alec down to 7. Anger of the Gods will clear out both of Brandon's creatures. Brandon not sacking his Judge's Familiar to get Alec to pay 1 more. So small misplay there. And serves in with the Mistcutter Hydra, knocking Brandon down to 6. So Brandon can attack for 2 if he wants here. He's not dead to a Fanatic, as he'll drop to 2 on the attack, and Fanatic will just be good for 1 here. But that Ash Zealot plus another land would work. This works exactly. Let's load up this Mutavault. Before blockers, Searing Blood on the Mutavault. We need a counterspell. Has to be negate. Has to be negate. Has to be negate. Dissolve won't work. Dispel will work. Oh, Rapid Hybridization on the Mutavault will work. That will work. It saves the 3 damage from the Searing Blood. We still haven't gotten to blockers yet, so Brandon's now going to be able to pick off that Ash Zealot. Alex using Searing Blood before blockers so that his attack would be lethal. But Rapid Hybridization in response means Brandon's still going to get to block the Ash Zealot. He goes down to 2. he would need a 4th land, a Night Veil Spectre, and a 1-drop, or he would need a 4th land and 2 creatures in order to kill Alec here. He has to turn on Thassa, and he has to attack with his Frog Lizard. Of course, the Frog Lizard is green, not blue, so it will be able to block the Mistcutter, but that's only going to buy him 1 turn. We see Alex sideboarded in his Searing Blood, so he has to be concerned about that as well. So we're going to see one of the 2-drops here. Frostburn Weird. That does mean that Alec is potentially dead on the crackback. Here's a Nykthos activation. There's a Storm Breath Dragon. That should be good enough. Unless Brandon has exactly another Rapid Hybridization. He does not have it. And Alec gets there off the back of 2 Mistcutter Hydras. So he moves on to the finals. We'll step outside and see where the other final was. Like I said, Jonathan Wright and Esper Control was up 1 game against Garrett, Meadows, Black-Red Devotion.